We're good? Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome this evening to the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education Public Conference Meeting on April 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. The board met in executive session at 6 p.m. in room 105. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss personnel, litigation, miscellaneous, and old business matters. This meeting has been advertised and is in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act and NJSA 10:4-6, also known as the Sunshine Law. The matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required, and formal action pursuant to said discussion shall take place only at a meeting to which the public has been invited. Welcome to the public conference meeting. It is 7:02. We are in the cafeteria at James Caldwell High School. The Board of Education meeting will be streamed live. All community questions and comments will be welcomed in person. The Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education public conference meeting is compliant with the Open Public Meeting Act and NJSA 10:4-6, also known as the Sunshine Law. Notices have been sent to the Progress, Caldwell, New Jersey, and the Star Ledger, Newark, New Jersey, and Tap Into West Essex. Notices have also been posted at the Board of Education Business Office, Harrison School Building, Gray Street, West Caldwell, New Jersey, and have been delivered to the Clerk, Borough of Caldwell, and the Clerk, Township of West Caldwell for posting. Brian, can you take the roll?
Yes. Mr. Diambola. Here. Ms. DiMartini.
Here.
Ms. Landolfi Jefferson.
Here.
Ms. Mack.
Here.
Ms. Grosso. So we have 4 voting members present. We have a quorum.
Okay, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Brian, are there any communications for the board this evening?
There were none.
Okay. Dr. Fernari?
Good evening, everyone. So at this time, I'd like to invite our middle school House Leader representatives, Mason McGoldrick, House Leadership, and Franklin Daughter, House of Integrity. Gentlemen.
Good evening, Dr. Funari and the Board of Education. Thank you for inviting us to speak tonight, and I am Mason from the House of Leadership.
And I'm Franklin from the House of Integrity. GCMS was proud to celebrate another Make a Difference Day on March 27th. Make a Difference Day is an annual school-wide event dedicated to helping the community. Each grade had a service project where students participated in hands-on activities to help people in the community. The 6th graders partnered with Scene Hall to fight against food insecurity. The 7th graders participated in a St. John's drive and provided essential items for those in need. And the 8th graders partnered with Love for Our Elders and wrote letters and provided care packages for our senior citizens. The keynote speakers were cited by the students as especially impactful to them. 6th grade keynote speaker was Mira Mehta, Nina Dang, and Lucy Sandor from Novel Futures and Volunteer. The 7th grade keynote speaker was William Deering, who spoke about overcoming the stigma and tribulation that come with having a speech impediment. And the 8th grade keynote speaker was Matt Bellance from the Tiga Stavola Foundation. Many other community leaders also were present and were very grateful for their time and efforts. Finally, Make a Difference Day is meant to honor former principal, Mr. Brown, as he was the one who introduced GCMS students to the idea of serving and helping the community around us.
Grover Cleveland Middle School celebrated its 100th anniversary with a special community event held on March 18th. In the school auditorium, the evening brought together alumni, students, staff, and community members to honor the school's history and lasting impact. The program featured performances by the GCMS band, chorus, and orchestra, along with appearances and reflections from distinguished alumni representing multiple graduating classes. Guests also experienced a live podcast recording, a historical presentation, and student artwork displays, items, and guided tours of the building. Overall, the event served as a tribute to the generations who shaped GCMS while celebrating its legacy and future.
Don't miss the following upcoming performances at GCMS. The Spring Orchestra Concert on April 23rd at 7 p.m. The Spring Band Concert on April 28th at 7 p.m. The GCMS Spring Musical SpongeBob SquarePants on May 8th at 6 p.m. and Saturday, May 9th at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Come for an enjoyable time and see our talented students perform.
GCMS students are encouraged to sign up to participate in the 2026 CWC-EF 5K Run/Walk, which takes place on Saturday, May 16th. House points will be given for each student who participates.
One thing that being a house leader has taught me is the role of leadership.
One thing that being a house leader has taught me is like how to be a cooperative leader, like responsible, and how to like lead events. Thank you for having us, and are there any questions?
You guys are awesome. I do have a question. First, I want to say thank you, though, for mentioning the 5K, and I have insider information that GCMS has a lot of students registered so far, so that's awesome. Keep that up. If you can remember back to Make a Difference Day, what were some of your favorite like people that you met or presentations that you heard about?
One of the presentations I liked was I forget what it's called, but it was like I don't know. That's a tough one.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. There was lots of good ones.
Like the military people came in with like the wounded warriors and they talked.
That's great. Good job, you guys. You guys did awesome.
Okay, thank you. Your birthday with us tonight? Yeah. Happy birthday. Supporting his brother. All right.
That's great. Just a few more things on the superintendent's report this evening. So as of today, April 13th, we still have one more inclement weather day that we haven't used. As long as we don't have any wild and wacky weather events between now and the next board meeting, it's my intention to recommend to the board that we put that day as a give back day and add it to our Memorial Day weekend on the Friday before Memorial Day. Keep your fingers crossed. I don't want to see any snow. Although we've had snow in April before. Okay, so also at our April 20th Board of Education meeting coming up, we'll be recognizing the accomplishments of students that have done some wonderful things at the local, state, and national levels that occurred in the fall and in the winter time. So we're going to have a full house, I think, at our next meeting because we have many students who we'd like to recognize. And then those students who have accomplishments, similar kinds of accomplishments in the springtime, we'll bring them back closer to the end of the year for recognition as well. So we're looking forward to that. On Friday, April 10th, there was a ribbon cutting ceremony at Jefferson School to open the new book vending machine that was generously donated by the Jefferson Elementary School HSA. Student representatives from each grade level participated. The book vending machine will be used as part of a reading incentive program at the school. Thank you to the Jefferson HSA for making this happen. It should be noted that we're very fortunate to have many groups and organizations that work tirelessly on behalf of our students and our schools, fundraising for special projects that are outside of the district budget, donating equipment, and supporting our extracurricular opportunities for students. We are so very grateful to you all and will continue to share more about this work over the next several months. Board members, this concludes my report. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask me questions.
Thank you. All right, as you can see, Ms. Grosso is not with us tonight. She has a work obligation, so I will be stepping in to share out the president's report. You'll notice on tonight's agenda that we'll be voting next week to withdraw funds from our capital reserve fund to pay for the roofing projects at both Wilson and Jefferson schools. So these are educational buildings. Our students are housed there. Our teachers are housed there. It remains a priority of the board that we maintain these buildings and we take care of our facilities. So we will be voting again next week to withdraw the funds from our capital reserve to take care of those projects. Thank you, Brian, because we are also going out for a couple grants to help offset the cost of the roofs. So again, thank you for moving quickly on that project. Okay. So as far as how this might impact the Fieldhouse project, well, it does. You know, 2 months ago, the roofs were not on our agenda. And with that February blizzard, they wreaked havoc on the roofs. And now it's become an item that we have to address. It requires our attention. And so as a board, we have discussed putting that project on hold. You know, we're still committed. We still have the goal to move forward and to create a space for our athletes that is both equitable and safe. However, the roofs are our priority right now, and we will be using that capital reserve for that project. So once that work is underway, we're going to come back together. We're going to revisit the scope of the field house. We might need to make revisions because, again, this is an emerging issue. This really just came up in the last 2 months. So we are going to meet as a board. We will discuss our options, and we're going to determine what makes sense, what's fiscally responsible, and again, prioritizing the needs of the district. So you're going to have a chance to get up and speak during our public comment section, okay? All right. I just want to remind everybody, too, that the board is aligned in its belief that we are not going to drain our capital reserve fund. That is something that we feel strongly about and that we're all in agreement with. And that is why, again, we've decided to move forward with the roofs and then to revisit the scope, the phasing, and the timing of the Fieldhouse project. That being said, we still have the goal to eventually get a space for our athletes that is both updated, safe, and equitable. And as always, we will continue to be transparent with the community as we have discussions and as we're able to update you during our meetings, okay? I just wanted to also highlight a few upcoming community events that are happening across the district. And thank you, Mason, because I think actually you mentioned a couple of them. So I did want to mention the 5K that's coming up. Registration's open. Make sure you sign up and get out there and log some miles for our Education Foundation. There's also a yoga event, a parent-child yoga event that's presented in partnership with the Mindful Nest. That sounds like a really cool event on Tuesday, April 21st at Grover Cleveland Middle School. And that also supports the Education Foundation. SpongeBob the Musical, as the boys had mentioned, will take place on May 8th, and that's a middle school production. And finally, I just wanted to highlight the CPAG committee will be hosting a special needs resource fair. That's something, I think this is their 4th year doing it. It's an awesome event. It's held at the high school. It's 2 hours, and there's all these different vendors that are out there, with their programs or their services that they provide, students, not just students who have IEPs, but students with 504s or any student, honestly. I go every year. I always find a new vendor or program to pursue, and I leave with a bunch of goodies. So if you're free on April 22nd, make sure you come out to support the CPAG. Okay, and that concludes my report, unless there's any questions. No? Okay. All right. So we are not going to do, we are voting on one thing tonight, but we're going to do committee reports next week. So, Marisa, before the vote? Okay, sure. Okay, so we're going to roll into public comments on agenda items only. So these are just for items that are on our agenda tonight. Public participation shall be governed by the following. Participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of their name and address. Statements are to be limited to 3 minutes duration. Participant may speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. Boards use the public comment period of the meeting as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session or a cross-examination between the public and individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before a board meeting will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or his or her designee. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, and/or terminate a participant's comments if it exceeds the allotted time or is objectively obscene. Participants may be civilly liable for any obscene, defamatory, or slanderous statements made during public comment. So with that said, would anybody like to come up to the podium for agenda items only? Come on, Liz.
Hi, Liz Hart, 149 Ravine Ave. I have a question on the budget that is listed on the agenda that states the capital reserve account withdrawal. So even though I know you just mentioned, right, that the Jefferson and Wilson roofs are going to be prioritized, and then also the Washington elevator is listed on there as a withdrawal from cap reserve, but within that same paragraph, there is the mention of the $6 million. So is that going to be reworded for the next meeting's agenda to be removed and/or, reduced?
Possibly. So I know, we had talked about that $6 million number as being the threshold that we were willing to spend. So now, obviously, yes, we will come back together. I don't know that that's feasible for us, at least right now. So potentially that could change. And I don't know. Feel free to add anything, Brian. If
I may, so as you know, Liz,
Yeah.
budgets are just plans.
Right.
So the budget has a $6 million, which was the max. So we could go 0, we could go $6 million. The plan doesn't have to be activated. So we may or may not change that number. It just as we find out what our capital reserves are available as we look to do this project after the roofs, it could be some portion of that. But we don't have to change that because it's a plan. The plans can change. So we may change that, but we don't have to.
Okay, but just really quick, right? So the
Yeah.
math is that according to the current balance statement, it was $9.2 million is cap reserve.
Yes.
So you have $1 million for the Washington elevator. You've got another 1.2 for Wilson, another 1.4 for Jeff. So that's 3.6. 3.6 plus 6 is 9.6, which is 0.4 more than 9.2.
That's correct.
So
So-
it can't be 6 million, right?
Simple math.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Right.
Just want to make sure. So
No,
just the math is a math thing, so just
I-
want to make sure we're clear on that.
I absolutely agree with you.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Okay, so we can go on to a vote then. All right, Marisa, can you, oh, I'm sorry. Sure, good, yep.
Alex said 5 Ellis. I guess just a question, why did the board decide to use the reserve fund for the field house? Because it was voted down a couple of times?
Right, so it was voted down a couple of times, and so we have that capital reserve. That's for a very specific, it's for projects around the district. So we feel that it's a priority for our students and our athletes. The building itself, I don't know if you've had the chance to tour it, it's in horrendous shape. The facility needs to be, we need to put something there for the kids. But right now, it's not on our agenda, but we will be using capital reserves for that. It's not, though, I think there's some confusion. I don't know if that's where you're going. Or the referendum was something that we were asking the community to assume some of that tax, right? It would show up as a tax to the community members. The capital reserve is not. That is our capital reserve fund. So
No, I understand.
You understand that? Okay.
Yeah, no, I understand that point. I guess just the question was, I think, given the sentiment from the community, I guess the feeling in some parts of the community is that we're kind of going around the referendum and the results of the referendum, and so we're just using the back door at the cost of a reserve. A roof is a great example for how things will pop up, and I'm sure that there are other things will. So just kind of curiosity speaking, like you want to have a minimum. Sounds like there's flexibility on the minimum on the reserve. So just from a capital planning, one roof, there's another school, you know, this school may need a roof at some point. I'm sure this one's going to be a little bit more than $1 million.
A lot of the facility updates that were actually included in the first question in referendum, the first referendum, question 1. So we were anticipating having some projects to do around the district, so we were mindful of that when we put question 1 out. As far as the field house, the board stands behind, you know, safety and equity for our kids, and we feel that it's an important project that we're going to pursue.
Understood. So I think it'd just be helpful for the community that you kind of put your thoughts around how you manage the reserve and the priorities. I think that would be very helpful for people in the community to understand, given that we've kind of gone through almost a year of discussion about the field house and what's the best approach to it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Maurice.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, motion to approve item A only under curriculum and technology on this evening's agenda.
And can we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian?
Yes. Mr. Diambola?
Yes.
Ms. DiMartini?
Yes.
Ms. Landolfi Jefferson?
Yes.
Ms. Mack?
Yes.
4-0, motion carried.
Yeah. Okay, so, sorry, it's my first time filling in for Julianne, so I'm just getting up to speed here. All right, so we're just going to preview the agenda quickly, and again, next week we'll be voting. Okay, so just again, thumbing through, we have some field trips on there, which is always fun to see, and really across all levels of our elementary school, high school, middle school. We are also voting on some ESY appointments for our extended school year. We have also our summer enrichment program for 2026. We'll be approving staff for that as well. Okay, we talked about the withdrawal of our capital reserve funds. We also have some school meal prices for the 26-27 school year, transportation contracts for some out-of-district placements. And again, we mentioned too that we are going out for some grants to help offset the cost of the roofs. We also have really an exciting item here, our JCHS STEAM project. Again, that was a part of the first question on the referendum. The STEAM lab is going to be amazing. We're really, really excited for it. So we'll be voting on some equipment quotes to go into that STEAM room. Okay, and I think, and then we have some use of facilities for our Boy Scout troops, the Wilson HSA, and the high school HSA. Okay, and that's it. Okay. All right, so we're going to be rolling into public comments. So this is for, and if anybody wants to get up and speak on anything, does not have to be on the agenda. Okay, I'm going to read that same blurb. Public participation shall be governed by the following. Participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of their name and address. Statements are to be limited to 3 minutes duration. Participant may speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. Boards use the public comment period of the meeting as an opportunity to listen to citizen concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session or a cross-examination between the public and individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before a board meeting will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to the public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or his or her designee. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, and/or terminate a participant's comments if it exceeds the allotted time or is objectively obscene. Participants may be civilly liable for any obscene, defamatory, or slanderous statements made during public comment. Would anybody like to come up and comment about anything off the agenda? And then you're next. No. Take your time.
Hi, Arlene Kochman, 35 Oldham Circle. Has the board have any discussions on the fact of all the new housing that's going to be coming soon? I mean, the whole area by the ShopRite is 10 acres. That is definitely working. That's going to be, especially low income. There'll be a lot more kids. There's going to be the new development with the old Welsh Farm property. That's approved, also low income. That's going to be a huge development. And now the possibility that the Toyota or across the street is going to be also low income. We're going to be, the town is pressured to have more low income housing, and they have to meet standards. So the 3 housing developments is going to affect the schools. And I'm not part of, on a general basis, but I'm hoping at some point you guys will talk about that, because more kids will be coming in, and it's gonna be more challenging. And so like you mentioned, having a little extra reserve, you may have to have more classes, maybe more teachers, things that perhaps you weren't thinking about. Anything we could do to not raise our taxes would be wonderful. So that's a comment. So hopefully you'll get a chance to really discuss it. So anybody want to comment, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that information. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you all for letting me speak tonight. I'm actually on spring break from my school, so I had availability. My name is Lynn Stevens. I live at 8 Dillon Road. I've been living in West Caldwell for 58 years next month. I graduated in 1983, and my daughter graduated in 2011. Just a little background to give all who are here tonight a different perspective about the field house. Excuse me. I played 3 sports every year throughout my high school years. I played college sports. My daughter played Division I volleyball and played volleyball throughout her high school career. I am a physical education teacher, have been a phys ed and health teacher for 28 years. However, I'm here to speak tonight to express my strong disappointment at the board's decision to bypass the majority of voters in our towns who voted no to this, not once, but twice. Spending $100,000 to put this on a ballot could have been the money used to tear down the field house. Fiscal responsibility is not simply about saying no to large projects. It is about saying yes to the right ones. It is of my opinion that this board lacks clear judgment with regards to important decisions that affect all stakeholders. At a time when many Essex County schools need to seriously think about their expenditures due to budgetary concerns, Caldwell has found a way to build their brand new state-of-the-art field house anyway. Projects such as these deserve deeper scrutiny. Every dollar allocated to this renovation, and I know there's different amounts, right? You're saying it's $6 million or here and there, give a dollar or two here and there, is a dollar not invested in academic excellence and safety improvements. Nothing speaks priorities more than a shiny new field house as opposed to new bathrooms across from the gym and boys and girls locker rooms that still look like they survived the Titanic. These are the same bathrooms from 1982, which is my earliest recollection. I seem to recall years ago when the school board was pushing for a new turf field. They installed it, but there was a problem with it, as evidenced by it not draining properly during a boys lacrosse state game just 3 short years ago. What will happen if the field house goes over budget, or there is a similar problem? Where will that money come from? Finally, I want to end with the school motto, which is to foster, inspire, and champion learning for all. Defining foster is to encourage or promote the development of something, typically something regarded as good. It is evident to the people who voted no to this project that this is not what is best for all. Why isn't it evident to the board? And opposing views. I am hoping the board will reflect on their decision about what is best for all and not simply best for some. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dale Brown, and I live on Hillside Avenue in West Caldwell. I have some questions. Firstly, I want to second what Lynn had to say. I agree with her on almost all of her points. I have some questions. I don't understand how we went from 15 million to 8 million to 6 million to I don't know how many million. That would be my first question. My second question, fundamentally, is were plans and bids presented for renovation rather than demolition? Because we've got a brick field house that could be renovated for a greatly reduced price, even from the stated 6 million. I guess to reiterate on what Lynn said, there's nice to have and there's need to have. And I really, really sincerely hope that this board gives further consideration to the nice to have versus the need to have. Because from our vantage, and I speak for a lot of residents of this town, from our vantage, there are so many better ways to allocate the funding than what's been so-called selected by the board.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Samantha O'Neill, and I live at 14 Johnson Avenue.
Christina Press, 22 Eastern Parkway.
Christina and I are two mothers from Wilson School. We stood at this podium approximately 4 weeks ago and asked for school security to be placed on the agenda. And back on March 9th, 2026, the board informed us that they would discuss it in executive session and go from there. As of tonight, April 13th, 2026, it is still not there. That is unacceptable. You have built the walls, you have locked the doors, but when those walls fail, and we all know they sometimes do, there is no one inside trained and ready to respond in real time. So we are asking again, why do we not have a trained, experienced law enforcement presence in our schools every day? This is not a luxury, this is baseline safety. This is someone who will walk the halls between periods, someone who notices when a child is struggling before it becomes a crisis, someone who knows which students are being targeted, which groups are bullying, and which child has become quietly withdrawn. This is someone who teaches digital safety before a mistake turns into a tragedy. Someone who builds trust with students so they speak up instead of staying silent. This is someone whose sole responsibility is safety, because right now that responsibility is being stretched across our administrators who are already overwhelmed. How many roles are we expecting our principals to fill at once? They are currently our educators, our administrators, a counselor, and now frontline security. Those numbers just don't add up. Let's be clear, this is not about politics. It is about whether there is someone inside our buildings capable of making a decision in the moment that matters. Every day this is delayed, it's a decision that everyone hopes that nothing will happen. Christina and myself are not willing to make that gamble with our children's lives because later is not a plan. We would like a date. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did you want to speak to, or your?
I mean, I guess the question is, why has it not been added to an agenda after now how many meetings since we were here last?
So the board has had discussions in executive session, and to the extent that we've asked Dr. Fernari to engage our SRO officer, because we do have one in the district, which I know Dr. Fernari shared during the last board meeting, in addition to engaging our local chiefs of police to come in and speak with the board about our existing protocols, and have a conversation and a dialogue. I mean, I don't know that it's something, again, I think it was said last time that, you know, it's going to be discussion amongst the board. So I don't know if you want to add.
Did you have anything, Ms. If not, I mean, I can.
You could, yeah, I can say a lot, but you don't.
So Mr. McCarthy is actually our school safety specialist across the entire district. In addition to the relationship that we have with both of our police departments and all of the other safety protocols we have in place, we have the opportunity and the ability to immediately have police response in our district. We're blessed that we have 2 police departments, but their resources are limited as well when it comes to also having officers that would be typically a class 3 officer, which I think is what you're describing. They're typically retired police. They're part of the police department. It's a process. It's not a you know, let's put it on the agenda and hire someone kind of a position, but I don't want you to think that we're not looking at all of the and assessing all of the practices that we have in our district and making improvements. We've made a number of safety improvements this year, and every one of them is in conjunction with both of our police departments. Our police officers are in the schools. They not only drive around our school buildings, they come in. They talk to the administrators on a regular basis, our SRO and other officers. So I don't want anyone to get the impression that we don't have that relationship with the police departments, both of them, because it exists. In addition, anytime that we have a question, they are so responsive to us as far as what practice we have in place now that maybe we can make improvements on. We're always looking to make sure that what you're describing is not the scenario that happens here. We're not sticking our heads in the sand. We're trying to make sure that with the resources that we have, that we're covering as much of that safety territory as we possibly can. And you know, strengthening the walls is important, making sure, which is part of our referendum that was passed. We have schools that currently do not have the double entry vestibules that will have them. Those projects are happening during this summer. You know, so the things that we have in place now are always going to improve. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with you.
With all due respect, Superintendent, the Township of Cedar Grove, to my knowledge, has retired law enforcement officers who are not class 3s that go through the police department. So it's a separate entity where the Board of Education could basically advertise. They would have specific guidelines, good standing within the last 5 years with whatever department they were with, and they could come and be in the schools all the time. And I'm a local first responder in this town and have been for 20 years, and I understand greatly the manpower issues that our police departments go through. But there are other options for us, like getting a retired police officer or from a security company where there's people who have been trained and are held to a state standard. Why can't we look into that?
Well, that's not something that we have, that we said we wouldn't look into. I just wanted to make sure that I understood what kind of police presence you were asking about. But thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
I just want to end with, you know, I think we're talking about making things a priority, you know, like keeping the kids safe, keeping the building safe, but this should be a top priority because this town is behind the 8 ball against every other town in the surrounding area that has these security officers already.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Carol Snyder, 77 Hillside Avenue. I just wanted to piggyback one thing that I'd like you guys to be very sensitive to, as I know we're all very vested in the bottom line. And with regards to the budget and the field house and so forth, we would appreciate better communication on what's going on, because we found out through the back door about, it was 15 million, then it was 8 million, then 6 million. So we would request that you guys really keep us informed about what's going on.
The website.
Okay?
Yeah.
So just so that you're aware, over the time that the district has been talking about and working on this field test, now I'm a resident too, I live in West Caldwell. So this is a topic that has been at many board meetings, and we always provide information. We have a section of our website that's dedicated to the referendum. So the one thing we're not allowed to do is send out mailers. We're not allowed to solicit, information.
Well.
We're not even, you know what? So we use the mechanisms we can and we are allowed to use, but, we even thought about, giving people more information on lawn signs, and that wasn't really something we could do either. So, we are working within the channels that we can, and we're hoping that if people have questions, that they email me, email Brian. We're very open to responding to questions that we receive. So please feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Hello, board. My name is Kimberly Lai. I am a mom at Wilson School as well, and I just wanted to speak on what Christina and Samantha were speaking on. Superintendent, you had said that you were working with the local police and you were building our walls stronger to keep our children safe. I was wondering, and I know this is my first board meeting, so I'm not really sure how it works, but I was just wondering if you knew how long it took for the police to respond.
I don't know that.
Okay.
But but to respond to
like an event, a tragedy, or
well,
when they're called upon.
Here?
Anywhere,
in
like
our
a basic
district,
response,
or-
yeah.
So in our district, I don't know that we've had a situation where,
Just a basic police response.
yeah, that's different in so many different, it'll be different in a place. For example, I used to work up in Sussex County. Several of the districts that I worked in did not have their own police department, and the police departments that responded to those districts were either the state police or the county police that were pretty far away from the school where I was working.
Yeah.
So that response time would be extremely different from the response time that we would have, say, in a Caldwell or a West Caldwell, where our police departments are much closer.
I'm thankful for that.
Yes,
But also I want to say, do you know how long it takes in a school or any kind of place where tragedy will happen before police can get there? How many minutes do you think?
I don't know, Brian, has the state given any,
No, that's,
It's not a measurable.
It's not homogeneous, uniform type information.
It's just
So
an
If you
average.
had a lockdown that was called, and it was a live lockdown, not a drill, then I would imagine it would be not instantaneous, but it'd be very quick. So we practice and we do drills. The police forces are sometimes involved. They get immediate notice if there's actually a real situation. So they're very close, so I would imagine the response would be very quick.
Very quick.
So we haven't really tested, fortunately, that situation.
Right. Maybe it would be interesting to talk with the police to test their reaction to a thing, just so that we can see the response time. Because you said you're building better walls. We're getting a vestibule.
Right.
I know in some instances the back door has been left open. That's not a vestibule. Somebody can get in that way. Also, when in a school shooting, it's known that the biggest tragedy happens in the first 2 to 3 minutes. That is not enough time for somebody to get there. So while we are building the walls and trying to keep the people out that we don't want in, unfortunately, and I hope this never happens here, but it could happen. They could get in. We cannot rely on the walls we build. We have to rely on a trained officer, somebody who will put their life on the line, who runs toward the threat. you have teachers saying all the time, I remember the teachers used to say, oh, maybe our teachers will carry guns, or we'll do this, we'll do that. You cannot put this on our teachers.
No, and that was never
No.
something that this board.
Not here, not at this
no.
board, but I just know in
But just know
general.
that, you know, one of the first things that school districts do as far as protecting, we are talking about walls and doors and vestibules, because those first couple of minutes, the more you slow down the bad guy, the better chance you have
in
of
that
getting
entrance.
where you.
I agree, 100%.
But when we look at our own practices, when we have the police departments come and tour our buildings as we're doing any kind of a drill, or when they just stop in to, if they see a door open, they immediately say to that principal, we gotta fix this.
100%.
And, you know, so we learn every day from the police department that we have working with us, the two departments that we have
Right,
working
and
with us.
I'm just trying to paint a picture.
No, I
The picture
totally
is
understand.
that
Yes.
the response needs to be
I do.
within the house for our children. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sure. Okay, come on up.
So in the last couple of years.
Can you just remind me
oh,
of your
sure,
name again?
Alex, and
Al-
5 Ellis.
Got it.
So in the last couple of years, some of the schools here had instances with swastikas being drawn. What does the board have done other than from an administrative perspective? And then just using it as an example, you know, that's a hate crime. City of New York treats it as a hate crime.
Yes, so do we.
How do we treat it here, considering we've had recent incidents?
So several things were done. One of them, we have to remember that as an educational institution, our main tool is education. And we want to make sure that not only do we have more frequency and the staff being alerted to, if they see something, they need to report it immediately, because sometimes when you're in an environment and it's okay to have graffiti on the wall, or if you're in an environment and it's okay for there to be writing in a bathroom, for example, whatever that writing might be, you become blind to it. So here, when any of that happens, we immediately notify the principal and the head custodian, and typically also our buildings and grounds director gets involved. And we learn about it too. So physically, we have people with eyes on as far as the education portion is concerned, because we know that sometimes it is children, sometimes it is others coming into our schools. For example, the situation that we had here at the high school not too long ago, there was a swastika drawn. It was in a locker room. It happened outside of school hours during a time when there were lots of people in and out of this building. And so there was no way really, and Mr. Devlin was very clear about, in his letter to the community, about not, you know, he was honest about it. He said, we don't know if this was our students, but it's still our responsibility, and we are going to take that responsibility. So educationally, we have programs that we've had in place for students. We have done and will continue to do parent workshops so that parents know not only how to address situations like this with their students, but with their children, but also how to come to us with questions, how to make suggestions and recommendations to us. So it's, again, you know, we've brought in, talked to folks at the State Department to get more resources so that we know that our messaging is on point. So, you know, we're trying to be as comprehensive as possible with
So
this.
maybe I can clarify my question.
Sure.
Because it's treated as a hate crime.
Yes.
How is the police involved in these instances?
They are notified immediately.
And what?
So what happens?
Has the board, effectively in conjunction with the school, taken any actions from the investigation that the police department has done?
So maybe I'm not understanding your question. So the Board of Education is.
Has the child has the person, has the police, I guess maybe to be more blunt and clear about it,
Yes.
has the police investigated and come to a conclusion, just like they do in any other incident that there is involved in the town? And does the school board have a policy for effectively, other than an administrative notices being sent to parents about what to do?
So
Because
what-
that's part of the, sorry, for me
no, I'm so
personally,
sorry.
apologize for interrupting you, but I think that's part of the concern for safety, that some of the parents have noted already, because it starts with a graffiti and it escalates, and it escalates in other places outside of, thankfully, this community.
So the Board of Education has a policy. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, is that better? Okay. The Board of Education does have policy around bias and hate crimes, and that policy is followed and implemented in the district. One of the aspects of that policy, and also in our memorandum of agreement with law enforcement, is the type and the frequency and the immediacy of reporting any of these things to law enforcement. Sometimes, depending on what is found, there is, you can identify how it happened and who may have done something, and in other times you can't. So the police help us work through that. There are also provisions within the police department's requirements that perhaps at some instances when there is hate crime identified, that the prosecutor's office gets involved.
So great example.
Yeah.
Was the prosecutor involved in these 2 incidents?
The prosecutor's office was notified. I really can't get into the detail of the outcome for a lot of that because it's specific to.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
No,
but I want to make sure you know that we do have that mechanism.
It's just,
in place.
I've been in this town for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And there's been like 2 or 3 incidents.
Mhm.
And there hasn't been, there's clearly, because there's happening, they keep on recurring, tells me that there's no repercussions
Well, it's not
that are being made, right? Like typically a drunk driver, when he flips over his car, he gets arrested. Typically he doesn't do it again.
Right. But there's no way to say that if it's happening in a school, that it's the same person over and over again if it's happening once in a year.
It doesn't have to be the same person, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be the same person.
No, it doesn't have to be the same person.
Thankfully
And
it's
that's why
not.
the messaging and the education are so important. And we are working with our community partners who, we have a synagogue it's right next door to the middle school, for example.
Which I attend, yeah.
We
And
work with them.
They're very closely involved in
Yes.
these discussions.
Yes.
And so it's
And with us, we are part of that conversation. So, I think the one aspect that we really can't speak to as an outcome, if a person is identified, we can't disclose, no matter what it is. If a child does something, we don't disclose the discipline that's related to that child. So it would be true of a small infraction or a larger infraction. So you may not hear about that outcome, but understand that there is a process in place.
Okay.
Okay? And if you have any other questions, feel free to call me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charlie Daughter, 37 Grover Lane.
Timmy Dada, 37 Grover Lane.
This is our first Board of Ed meeting, and we have a question. I didn't think we'd be up here. But before we do, we did want to take a minute to say thank you for what you guys do. We have children who've been in the district now for 9 years, and we've always been appreciative of the administrators, the teachers, the aides, faculty and staff, but we've never taken a minute to realize what the board does. Spending the past hour here with you, I recognize the awesome responsibility that you have, and I appreciate the decisions you guys are forced to, or given the responsibility and the privilege to make, so we appreciate that. And our question is, do you want to ask or you want me to? The other day, Franklin in 8th grade had a list of courses to select for 9th grade. And when we looked at the foreign languages, we saw some really great opportunities, options really. Spanish, Latin, really cool stuff. Stuff that can help you broaden your educational spectrum. And then Timmy and I think Mariella, my daughter, who's in 6th grade, they both asked about sign language. And do you see that as an option maybe in the future that might be available to students?
Yeah, that's something that we would love to add to our cadre of world languages. It's we would have to find an appropriate certified teacher of American Sign, and it's something we haven't talked about it as a board. So I'm jumping the gun here, but as far as that's concerned, it's certainly something we can consider.
Okay, thank you. That's what we were here for. Anything else today?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. Anybody else? Yes, come on up, Liz.
Hi, Liz Hart, 149 Ravine Ave. I do have a couple questions, so I hope I'm like the last one. I wanted to wait my turn. So the first question I have is about the field trips that are listed. So does that come out of our operating budget, or does it come out of each? Like, how did the field trips get funded? I'm not staring at you, Brian, but
Well,
Dr.
I
Fernari
can
just
tell you
pointed
that, as far as most field trips, we have some kind of a cost that parents contribute to.
Okay.
But, we also know that if a trip is within our purview and we have a bus available and it's not going to interfere with the transportation of students to and from home to school and school to home, depending on when that trip might be, it's much less expensive for us to transport than it is for a professional transportation company. So the cost differential is different. There are some trips that are curricular in nature. In other words, they are directly related to coursework that students are engaged in.
Sure.
And then there are some other trips that are more rewards oriented or outside of the scope of the children's actual educational program. So some of those are treated a little bit differently. But Brian, as far as the dollars and the cents, I'm going to leave that to you.
Sure. And you had emailed me a similar
Right.
question the other day.
But this is, it's not even related
So
to that,
similar.
but sure, yeah.
So the field trips, it depends on the field trips.
Okay.
Depends on the school, the activity. I can say that some of the trips may be coming out of student activities accounts, and you had asked about that, and they were different than our operating budget. These are accounts that are held at each school.
Right.
We do audit the bank accounts, but they essentially collect through school, advised or sponsored activities, and they can collect money for some type of future goal. Could be a field trip, could be something else for the students, and the money could come from there.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes the money for field trips can come from parents. What we do and what we have done recently, because transportation costs have probably doubled in the last couple of years, we're aware of that. So we did put money in the operating budget, you say coming out of the general fund. I use those same words, general fund or operating budget, to subsidize some of the schools. So the schools do have money to reduce some of the costs, because if we went to the parents and say, you gotta all kick in $100 for the transportation, it becomes prohibitive.
Right.
So it depends on the situation, so it could be a combination of those resources to fund the trips.
Got it. So like, for example, the first item on the field trips for the boys lacrosse, right, to go and see 2 former students play, is that funded by the student athletic department budget, or is that, like, how does that get funded? And then even the bus, right, that was great, right, when the girls basketball team went on to the state champs, and then there was like a free, spectators bus. Like, how did that get funded?
So it again, it depends.
Yeah.
So you see something where one of the sports teams may apply and say, can we, we have someone who graduated playing lacrosse at Rutgers. It'd be great for the team to go see them. If we have a bus that's available, sometimes we can run one of our 54s or smaller buses. We could use those. We'll pay the drivers.
Okay.
Sometimes they are subsidized by the parents because it's really an extracurricular activity. All right. Sometimes we can fund it.
Okay.
All right. If they are doing something where they are going to the state championship and we want a private charter bus, then we've had times where the booster clubs have volunteered to pay for it because they don't want to arrive to the championship game on a yellow bus. So
Okay.
it depends.
So it really depends.
Okay.
Okay. I also just want to mention, right, because the FBLA team
Yes.
have several students that have qualified for nationals, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if Mr. Harper has reached out. So apologies, Mr. Harper, if you're listening. But I know it's very expensive, right?
Yeah.
So they're all flying to Texas. I don't know if that's getting subsidized by the board or if that was put in to be subsidized by the board. But I feel like for every single year, I feel like this is maybe the 3rd year in a row where the FBLA team is great. And those 2 students came, maybe I think back in February to speak about FBLA and how the board, it would be appreciative if the board could really get behind them. And it's an amazing feat that every single year our students seem to manage to get to, not manage, but they're great and they get to nationals. It would be great to see some offset in the cost for those students that have achieved that as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So that's my spiel on field trips. Then I just want to kind of go back to the field house really quick. So I know we mentioned that it can't be the 6 million because the math isn't mathing, right? So let's pretend it's some number south of the 6 million, right? And I know that the board has basically expressed that it is their prerogative to use the capital reserve how they deem they want to. But I just want to pose a question that I know in the last board meeting, the proposed budget was kind of highlighted where the local tax levy was going to be increased, right? I believe it was going from, the max is supposed to be 2%, but then there's room for increase. I believe, Brian, you said it was 3.97%, right? 3.90.
We have right now.
Okay, so it's close to double, right, of what the allowable tax. I feel like last year it might have been 1.9 something that, or maybe I'm wrong, 2. It was 2. So we're still close to double. And that I know is due to healthcare costs, right, that we had to help subsidize through taxes. But while the board is making it their prerogative to spend capital reserve, which doesn't impact the taxpayers, the cost to maintain the field house, lighting, so electrical, cable, water, those are all going to impact the taxpayers who have, as many people have stated, voted down twice to not increase our taxes to fund the field house. So I just want to kind of make that statement. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
To set the record straight?
Yeah.
So the referendum.
Yes.
We had 2 referendums.
Right.
School districts are required to go out to the public to borrow money. So a referendum is to borrow money. It's not to spend capital reserve funds that the district may have. So for both referendums, the first one was larger. There was going to be a borrowing of 13.5 million.
Right.
The town said no, it's too much, and we disclosed the tax impact. The second one was for a smaller field house where we weren't going to put any money in, but we're going to borrow 8.5 million. That was to borrow money. 20 years, there will be a tax impact. We disclosed the likely tax impact. So the third one here is we're not going to referendum. We have money that the board could choose to spend or not. We don't have to go to the taxpayer to ask to borrow.
Right.
So that's where we're going right now. So that's what the referendum is.
Sure.
And as far as the borrowing. Now, just to go back to your question.
Yeah. No, but what I'm just saying is I get it, right? You guys the board is stating it's your prerogative to spend the cap reserve. I'm not debating that. What I'm stating is that there will be, and if you're saying right now that the only way to balance the budget, right, is to increase our taxes to help offset the cost for healthcare, and I know you said next year you're going to go out and
shop around.
Shop around because you have to do that every year. But the costs will go up, the operating costs, which is taxpayer funded, correct or not?
So we are operating the field house right now.
Right, but if you're talking about a substantially larger field house, which has substantially more bathrooms, there's a shower for the coaches, there's, cable for watching videos, right? Replay and blah, blah, blah. So those are costs that will increase just by the sheer size of whatever this proposed field house is. If you maintain the same footprint of the field house, sure, potentially the operating costs would stay in line, but from the designs that have been, presented, and if it's 6 million and you want 64 locker rooms for men and women, or boys and girls, whatever, right, it will cost more money to pay for the water, to pay for the electricity, and or cable. That's just kind of the statement that I'm making that I feel that the board should take into account when you discuss size of what this new potential field house would be. And I just also wanted to make one statement. So there was a statement made about me in the February meeting that said that I was vocal against the field house, and that is inaccurate. Every single time I've come up to speak about the field house, it has been about the cost. I'm not anti-equality for, women or, young ladies. I am just looking at this with a fiscally responsible lens for both myself and the other taxpayers in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other people want to come on up? No? Okay. All right. Okay, that being said, can I have a motion to enter back into executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
6. All in favor, aye.
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 All against, no. Any abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next Monday, right? Yeah.